Hello, ladies and gents. I've got a lot of different updates to cover today. The first, most notable one is the light bleed issue, which has been a big problem for a while, especially in areas that aren't probed. I know if you've seen a lot of my video coverage of the map, I go into an area that's not probed and everything just has like this reddish sheen underneath of it, and I figured out which is something that I should have known to begin with, that when you have a sun probe, you probably don't want to have it over an luminescent red or a luminescent anything surface, or above it, rather. So that's been fixed. I've moved it actually over here in the middle of the forest next to the bus depot, which is kind of like just like a default lighting area. It just kind of gives the natural vibe of the map, and that's how you should do sun probes. And for whatever reason, I thought it was okay to just leave it over the lava, so that's been fixed. One thing I want to do is at least get the majority of the map probed as much as I can, because there's a lot of the map that isn't finished yet, and that's going to take care of a lot of these really dark shadows, which are not supposed to be as dark as they are. So this is an example of an area that's probed properly and has proper exposure settings tweaked for it for the shadows. The shadows are supposed to be very light in the game, to simulate light scatter amongst all of the fog and the skybox. And when you have just default lighting, it's going to give you the darkest shadows possible. It's great that I have this complete now, because this was a big piece of the map that was missing, especially over here. I can just copy and paste it over here, and then that's like basically all of the vistas covered, maybe except for the cafe. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Then I'll be able to fill all this in and fill all this in here. Actually, I won't even have to fill it in, because that's just going to fill it in for me. Other than that, the areas that I really need to complete are this building here, and that will pretty much be it for the exteriors and everything. But interior-wise, the barbershop's a bit lackluster. I don't know why that fire is so loud, but yeah, so this is an area that actually isn't probed. It just goes to show the power of having a proper sun probe setup. You can see it does look like it's probed. It's great lighting. It looks beautiful. And so does the rest of the town, even though it's not probed. I'm not going to just leave it like that, though, because obviously there's shadows and ambient occlusion that needs to be fixed up. But I've worked a little bit on the cabin. It's mainly just some collision issues and some detail issues, and I've got the fireplace fixed up a little bit. I went ahead and moved this, what is this? This fireplace tools kit and screen back a little bit so that the skulls aren't piercing through it like they were. And I also added this little grate right here. Not noticeable, but it's good detail. But yeah, this fireplace is looking good. I understand it's mainly just blocks right now. I really don't know any other way to do that, to be honest, because we're working with very limited tool sets. And I mean, that looks good. You know, it's just a small little part of the building, surrounded by all of this detail. You know, it looks fine really from a glance. But the lights here, this is the original Black Ops 2. I have a lot of original lights from the original Black Ops 2 map, in the map. So this is going to have to be tweaked and set up so it flickers and it's got proper shadow casting and all that stuff. But once that's done and the effects are all in, you know, for this little fireplace, it's going to be complete there. Um, Bowie knife is one issue that I've been trying to curb, and as you can see, when I buy it, you know, it's the chalk buy, you know. You see, it's the Black Ops 3 model, even though this is a Black Ops 2 model. I don't really get what's going on, because I set up a custom script for that quite clearly defines the original model for this, but I guess it doesn't matter too much because you're not really going to see it. I don't know, I kind of care about details like that, so that's something I would like to get sorted. As far as texturing and terrain goes, one of my biggest accomplishments recently has been making sure that I don't have an insane amount of decals and layers and, you know, terrain textures layered all over each other. That's something that I fixed across basically the entire map. And as we look here, You know, even though this separates off into another patch, it looks good. You know, you can't tell where the seam is. There basically is no seam, and you know, even though this is kind of the new rocky dirt texture in Black Ops 3 mixed with the old rocky texture. Like, see, these rocks, for example, are from the new one, but all this detail and dirt and stuff is from, well, no, I'm sorry, the rocks are from the old, the detail and the dirt is from the new. And you can't really tell. So it kind of just looks like the original texture, but when you go close to it, you see all this beautiful detail here, which is great. And also another issue with the asphalt is before on some of these patches when you would run on it, it would play the dirt sound when you're running on dirt. And now it doesn't because this is actually, instead of it just being grass with the asphalt plastered onto it, this is actually just a solid piece of asphalt geometry that has dirt blend into it, which is how it should have been. I'm not really sure what I was thinking. Oh shit. For the most part, though, the map has collision, I say as I run directly through a car and probably fall out of the map again. No, this all seems good. And the railroad track doesn't have collision yet again. Not sure how I feel about all this foliage. I know in Black Ops 2 they were very sparse with it so that you could see, and that's should have been the philosophy that I went for here. But apparently I got a little trigger happy with the detail, which is okay. That was something I had decided and planned ahead of time to do, and then I would just kind of downscale it a little bit if I needed to for size purposes. So it's going well. If anyone knows where to find an HD version of this cargo car, specifically this like metal crate looking version of it with the lights on it and stuff like that, I figured I would find it in the Black Ops 7 remake of Standoff, but they seem to have just copied and pasted the 90s version that they did instead of remaking the map to be like the Black Ops 2 version, which makes zero sense to me. It makes zero sense to me. One thing I managed to do is get brush model doors working in Black Ops 3. And I knew that this was possible, but for some reason everyone and their mother was saying, no, it doesn't work, you gotta use a model. You should use a model. And I'm like, well, my Maya like student license thing just ran out and they're being douchebags and they won't renew it whenever I submit it, so fuck it. I don't see the problem with this. I do not see the problem with this. So this area, haven't worked on it much still, but you can see because the sun probe has actually been fixed, it doesn't look horrible in here now. It actually looks like the color's working the way that it should. This area I'm kind of saving for kind of a later date when I get the majority of the rest of the map working. But we do have Tombstone, and I wish to God there was a better model for this, because, you know, this is rough, but... So this Tombstone machine, I had somebody help me with getting it scripted in, and if I enable the UI... I don't know why the sirens are playing. You can buy this, and it tells you what the new stats of it are. It says it saves the first 3 perks after being revived, and it increases the perk limit by 1. So if you buy this perk, it's not going to count as a perk. You can have this alongside your other perks. It drops the Tombstone power-up, obviously. It saves the weapons in all perks, except for Tombstone. I did fix collision here. You don't fall through it anymore. Thank God. Once again, all this falling effects stuff is rumble effects that are going to play once a grenade's thrown. But some of it's going to be like ambient, just playing generally. One thing I figured out with the sun probe is that once you have a sun probe set up properly, you actually don't need to probe all of this outside of the map. You only need to probe what's immediately visible so that the shadows are high quality. I know why the zombies aren't pathing from their spawn over here to the window. It's because there is no proper pathing for them to be able to get out from this terrain to this little lip right here and get to the door. I found out that there is for this, to this struct, which means that they work, and they do, but not here to this window. So that's going to be adjusted too. So here at the farm, the shadows haven't been fixed, obviously, so they're very dark, but I found out you can turn terrain patches into script brush models, and it will handle them the same way. So if I buy this, it just works, and this is not a model, which I think is really, really cool. The barn has a roof now. A lot of these boards and everything have proper textures and stuff to designate the edges. I can run up these stairs here and not get stuck, and I can also be up here. So I'm going to go back up here and show you that once I mantle, I fall, I actually don't take any damage at all. Gonna be great for players that, are in a crunch. For these doors, it makes no sense to me that they were metal in the original. They should have been wooden. You wouldn't have industrial metal doors for your front doors here. But now they do, courtesy of me. And they also play this sound too, which means they're supposed to be wood. This I didn't change to metal. But that one back there I did. I thought for sure I replaced these. Anyways, there's a lot of detail work I did, like this here, instead of just plastering like that damage plaster thing all the way around it like a ring and making it look very artificial, like what Treyarch did and what a lot of people did. What I did was I made the wallpaper I made a copy of the wallpaper, rather, gave it a reveal texture, and had it actually plaster over this so that it looks like the wall has actually been broken through. And then I added some damage stuff, some burns and whatnot, or staining or whatever. Because there's probably a lot of soot and filth coming through this window after it's been broken through. But yeah, all this detail's been added, and it's very, high res here. But it looks good. I've added some cracks, various cracks. Did all this here. I actually added these fans, which is something that you would want in a farm, especially if you're out west. You would want some form of airflow. So I added these in. I made them a little smaller so they're not in the way. With all this, got all this in, added some broken plates, some plates in the sink. I added these knobs here. They didn't add the knob. I guess they forgot to, so what I did was I added a little hole for a knob, and then I took a copy of this knob and threw it in here somewhere. It should be in there, but I don't see it. I adjusted these chemical tanks here, which are supposed to be manure tanks, some form of composting that the farm would have been using, but I added a little more character to them so that they look better instead of it just looking exactly how it did before. But you still have that yellowish seam through it, the sheen there, so that looks good. But unfortunately, there will be no Russian theories going on here about whether or not the Russians had, like, ties to this area or anything like that. That theory literally only existed because they repurposed Russian chemical tanks because they would look good here on the farm, and they didn't have any versions of the model that didn't have that Russian lettering on it, so they just kind of threw it in there, and, since there's fog, nobody would notice, but, they did. Over here at the diner, you can see all the sheen is gone. It doesn't look like shit anymore. I've added some fire here, and I actually have the script in for it to damage me. I want to make it a lot less intense, but there's an issue with mantling where I can't really get my player to mantle. Yeah, I can't get it. An issue with the RPD is that if you see that the bipod's down, it's supposed to be down, but when you reload, it goes back up. And I believe the reason that's happening is because I'm using the Modern Warfare Remastered version with the Modern Warfare 2 version. Or rather, the Modern Warfare 2 model with the Modern Warfare Remastered animations. So there's a reason I did that. I'm not going to explain it, but there's a reason I did that. Also, the iron sights are a little high. I wish they were down like this, but they're a little high, so I gotta fix that. As you can see here, because the power is on, these local power doors actually just open now instead of having to be powered. I always thought that that was a kind of stupid thing, that you have the power on, but you still need to use the turbines. I never really got that, but as you can see here, they just open. What is this to? I wonder. I moved one of the M16 wall buys from town all the way over here to the power station because I just felt like it was fitting. It's kind of like a warehouse industrial feel, you know, you're going to want an M16. As you can see here, this bunker looks pretty good, and it's not even probed, and that's just because I fixed the sun probe, so yeah. So areas like this, they actually, there is a little bit of ambient occlusion here, too, which is nice. The sun probe is very generous with what it gives you. So yeah, I mean, that's about it for what I want to show. Um, Again, I want to emphasize that all of the terrain that you see here is handmade, based off the template from the original map. All of the models, like the trees and the rocks and the vehicles and whatnot, are not hand placed. Those are imported from the original because, you know, why wouldn't you when you have the option? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Let me know what you would like to see me do next on the map. If there's something that I've missed, I would definitely want to know. So please let me know. Other than that, that's about it for today. Thank you.